Hi, this is Greg in Pensacola, Florida. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to talk about a new printer that I just added to my house, and it is the Moai by Peopoly. It is a SLA printer, which is a stereo lithography printer. They had a Kickstarter campaign a couple months ago, and I was one of the super early backers on it, and I got the printer about 3 weeks ago, and I've had some time to get some prints off on it and start to really explore using a stereo lithography printer. And I got some examples here I'm going to show you, and I'm also going to show you the printer, and this is just going to be another addition to the channel. So before we, you got Spider-Man sitting in front of you here. Before we get into these on the table, I'm going to take about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to move the camera over and show you what the machine looks like, talk about it, show you some of the stuff that you get in your kit, and then we'll come back here to the table and take a look at what's in front of us. So give me a second to move the camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I moved my camera, and the big black acrylic piece you see in front of you, that's the Moai SLA printer. And so I'll open it up in just a second so you can see on the inside and zoom in a little bit. And I've got a tray next to it with some of the stuff that you get with the printer and some of the stuff that I ordered extra with the printer. And so, the very first thing I want to do is I got to thank the guys in our Moai early field trial group, because what Mark did is he picked about 10 people in different parts of the world because he wanted to test how the shipping went and things like that. And I was part of the super early bird group on the Kickstarter also, and Mark and I have been talking throughout the campaign, and so he asked me if I'd like to receive one early and work through the build instructions and things like that. So I said sure, and so he shipped it over. It came on FedEx. Package came out great, and there will be pictures flashing in as I'm talking here, so you're just not looking at a static wall this whole time on here. And I put it together with the initial instructions that he was developing. It took me 4 hours and 27 minutes exactly to put it together because I was recording it on my camera, the build. And then I went back and looked at me building, and there is definitely an art to filming a build video. And so what I'm going to do is link down to Evan Morgan, who's over in the UK. He's got a channel, Model 3D, and I'm going to link to his video, and it's titled the Peopoly Moai Affordable Laser SLA Printer Build. I'm reading that across the screen on my computer. So he did a great job with a build video on this, highlighting how to put this thing together, how it looked when it came out of the box. So definitely go check out that video. Subscribe up to his channel also. But the rest of the people in the group, we got David, there's Evan, Frank, Jamie, Paul, and of course Mark. And we talked at all hours of the night, all hours of the day. So we worked through the early profiles before, when the only profile on the Moai was the 100 micron one. And then, we worked on the 50 micron one. And, so we've gone through a couple builds of the firmware. I think we're on 1.3 right now as of this video. And so it's been working out really well. So this group has been great. We got some guys that really pushed on this printer. I'm going to get it working, get it going, and I want to print stuff for my wargaming table type of guy. There are other engineers in there. There's Dennis in the group and stuff like that. So just wanted to say thanks to those guys as part of this. So here you are looking at the printer, and the first thing you want to know is kind of what the specs are, on this printer. The printer is for sale on the Peopoly website, and there will be a link in the show notes along with all the other links to what it is. So this is a 405 nanometer wavelength stereo lithography printer. It has a 150 milliwatt laser in there, and right now mine is only running 59% of the laser power. So there's plenty of power to hit other SLA resins or tougher resins and stuff like that from other manufacturers. Like I said, I'm only running 59 on my laser with no trouble at all. And if you put a DLP resin in here or something like that, or an LCD resin, you'll probably be using like 35%, maybe 40. But as we go farther on, we'll explore some of those different resins. The laser spot size is 70 micron. The build volume is 13 by 13 by 18 centimeters. And of course, my millimeter to centimeter, my centimeter to inch thing is over there, but that's the build size, 13 by 13 by 18. And the weight's 15 kilograms. It runs on a 32-bit ARM processor, and this runs on G code. So you use Cura. You use a Cura build for the Moai. I'm going to say Moai all the time, but it's Moai. You're going to use a Cura build for that, and you're going to compile your G code. You're going to save it onto an SD card, and you're going to put it in the printer. And the Z resolution is 10 to 200 microns. So again, the printer's available on the Peopoly store. And so let me open it up. And so that's what the inside looks like. So when it's built, this is the user area of the printer. And let me adjust my camera a little bit. So that's the build plate on top. And then the resin tank is on the bottom. And so right now I have gray resin in there, and that resin can sit in there, and I need to print a cover. They've started a Thingiverse group for the Moai, and one of the things that they made that's out there right now is an STL file for a cover for the vat, and Evan did a magnet locking system for the door. And I, for the life of me, don't know why I haven't printed that magnet system out yet and put it in here, but I need to print the cover, and I need to print the locking system for the cabinet. So that's what that looks like. And if you haven't seen an SLA printer, you know, that silver piece comes down in, and it's going to hit that gray resin. The laser is going to shoot up from the bottom on the galvos, so the galvo mirrors are going to be turning. It's going to shoot up in the bottom. It's going to cure it to that plate. And then what happens is the right side is going to tilt down, so it's going to peel. And then once it peels, it moves up, either 50 micron, 100 micron, 25 micron, whatever you have your build set at is what it's going to move up. And then it's going to shoot the next layer with the printer. It's crazy fast, you know, how fast this printer prints compared to, you know, how much I've been printing on my FDM, you know, and stuff like that. So that's what the inside of the printer looks like. I don't want to run it, the laser with it open on there. You've got some green goggles, but that's it, you know. So your SD card is right here in that slot. So you just save your file on there, you turn it on, and you just hit print, and away it goes. So some of the stuff, bring it over here. Let me zoom in. Like I said, I bought, I think, 8 liters, and you get one with it, so that makes 9. So I have a lot of resin. Almost everything is gray. I do have some of the cool green on there. I know the blue was out of stock, so I said send gray. You know, like I said, I'm doing this for miniatures, gaming, war games, so everything's going to be painted anyways. And I really like the gray. I think that's one of the best resins across. I mean, Forms, even Form Labs, their gray resin is top of the line, you know, also. So I think the Peopoly resin, the gray, is just a great all around resin. Comes in bottles like that. Those are 500 milliliter bottles. So for every liter you buy, it is, you get 2 of those containers, and they're sealed tight. They're good. They're thick containers. You pour it in the vat. There's a fill line on the vat, and you're good to go. I got a couple extra build plates right there. That may have been overdoing it a little bit. I probably don't need those as much. I think I looked at what was going on in the Wanhao D7 group and about how they were sanding down build plates and things like that. And I said, well, while shipping's free, let me throw in some extra stuff so that in case we have to do stuff like that to the build plate, or I guess I'm used to also on an FDM printer, I keep 3 plates of glass, and so I'm always rotating. As soon as the printer stops, I rotate another one in. And so I got a couple extras of those. Might not need them, but they're here if I do. You're also going to get these cool green glasses, and you're going to use them when you do your first printer calibration sheet. And I'll run that little spot video here as I'm talking that shows, you know, that's the first test you do. So that's when you get that thing built and you have the side panels off, you get this piece of paper, is what we did at the time, and we put it inside the resin vat with no resin in it, obviously. And we do a test. There's a test procedure inside the documents. And yeah, you definitely want to make sure you got your glasses on, because it's pretty cool looking through them. But then, you know, you can watch that laser and make sure it's going right around on that circle. You also get flush cutters, because you're definitely going to use those. I have a different set that I use. It's I keep on my post-processing station. So, but they're similar to that. They're just a little bit heavier. And so use that for clipping off supports. Here's your standard bag. Oops, sorry. Here's your bag of, you know, like Allen wrenches and stuff like that. But if I can pan a little bit this way, and I'm not going to step in front of the camera, but I'll make a link to these because I've built a kit printer and then I built this printer, and those screwdrivers are just amazing. You know, they fix those hex heads, so instead of having to use those Allen wrenches, those screwdrivers are right there. If you're looking at building any printers, you know, even outside of this, having that set, and they weren't that expensive. I think they were under 20 bucks on Amazon, and I've used them on 2 different printers now, and I cannot imagine having to twist a little Allen wrench in my hand for 4 hours on there. So definitely maybe something to look into. But like I said, the build was great. I know I flashed up some pictures of me doing the build. And just some other random stuff on here. But so that's what the printer looks like. That's what the resin looks like. It goes together great. You know, it is a shiny acrylic, so it's probably all reflecting onto me right now. But other than that, you know, that's what I just wanted you to see what the printer was, what kind of footprint it takes up. And the resin does not smell that bad on there. So it's, you know, you can smell it when you open the door, and when I put the lid on, I'm probably not going to be able to smell it at all. But it doesn't smell bad on there. It's not that foul of an odor. You know, it smells like resin, but it's not one of those where my wife or my daughters walk into here and they're like, oh my God, you know, I can't stand the smell. They really don't even smell it either. You know, the only time they do is if I'm opening the door, you know, peeking in, checking on a print that's going on. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to go back over to the table and show you all those cool models we saw at the beginning. So again, if you haven't been to the channel before and you like what you're seeing so far, go ahead and subscribe up. Definitely check out Evan's build video and the link down there. Subscribe up to his channel. And give me just a second. I'll move the camera back and we'll get going. Okay, so we're back at the desk, and we're going to take a look at some of the models that I've been printing. So this has been a learning process as I go. Like I said, this has been an FDM channel for 20 months, and it's still going to be primarily an FDM channel. But I'm going to start cycling this stuff through. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical professional, or I know a lot of these SLA printers go. I'm into gaming. I exist over in the gaming world. So what you're going to see here is figures for gaming, things to enhance your gaming experience, and just some cool stuff like this bust that you see in front of you that I really can't print with an FDM printer and get the quality that I have sitting here in front of me. And so this is I like to print these busts so I can try to improve my painting skills and bring that over to my modeling. So the very first thing you see in front of you, and I'm going to have links to everything that you see on this table that has a link, will be in the show notes below. So this is Spider-Man. This is by Techneo, and this is a Thingiverse model. And I thought this was a great model. So what I did is I hollowed this out in Mesh Mixer, and then I added the supports in B9 Creator, and then I printed it on the Moai in pretty much this configuration like this. Lean back a little bit. But if you take a look at the detail on here, I mean, this is an incredible piece. This looks really good. It really highlights, you know, the type of quality you're going to get off the printer. And like I said, that is a 50 micron print. And the ones that are a lighter white, I mean a white-ish looking color, that's actually a light gray primer by Vallejo. So I airbrushed that primer on. I think it helps show the details, and I need to prime all this stuff anyways if it's going to get painted. The next thing is Baby Groot, and this is by Tadox, and this is a remix of a couple different Groots on there. I know he made it all one piece, and so this is another model that I hollowed out, and I learned on this one, you know, each time you're printing, I think it's kind of a learning experience with this machine. Because I printed him in this configure, well, he was upside down because he comes out, they come out of the resin like that. So, but I had him a little bit close. I didn't extend him far enough away from the print bed with the supports. I think I only did 3 millimeters because I forgot to change the number. And so he has a couple little chips in the bottom of him where the resin drains out, but that's not a big deal because I'm just going to put him on a little scenic base and glue him down, and he's going to look fine. And so that's a low-res model, but that's at 50 micron. If you get a good look at his face and stuff, you can see how nice the eyes look and things like that. If you're part of the Moai Facebook group, you've probably seen this piece right here, because I posted this picture a couple weeks ago. This is when I first went to 50 microns from 100, and this is one of the first pieces I printed. And this is a night piece, and again, this is on Thingiverse, and the creator is Zoram. And so what he's done is he's done a whole set of these chess pieces in this kind of Egyptian theme, and these are absolutely beautiful. So again, printed at 50 microns, and if you get down in there and look at the details that are on them, I did hollow these out. I think what I'm going to do personally is scale these 50%, and I'm going to print them solid and then do a chessboard for myself of both sides of these pieces. Just so you know, if you like these pieces here, I have a link to Zoram's design page, because he's got a few nice things. He just started putting stuff up. He's trying to save up for a 3D printer of $200. I think he's got like 120 saved so far from donations. So he kind of updates as people donate what the total is. So if you like his work and you really like these models on SLA, chip him a few bucks. I plan on doing that myself on there, just to help him get to where he can actually get a couple $100. I think he's looking at one like probably an A8 off GearBest or something like that. But these models, these are just tremendous models on there that he did a great job with, and it really showcases just how fine, the details are that you get on this. And again, I hollowed them out in Mesh Mixer. I added the supports of B9 Creator, and printed it out. This right here, this is the first model on the table that's not on Thingiverse. This is a Biomorph bust by Duncan Shadow Luca, and I'll have a link to his Patreon page and also his Gumroad page. So I'm a Patreon subscriber of his. It's pretty inexpensive right now to get in on it, and so I do the top tier. I think it's $5 a month is what I'm paying. So what he does is he creates models, and he releases some for free, and then he has a knight level and I think a paladin level, and I forget which one's higher. I think I don't know, one of them is higher than the other, and then he'll release a model in that level, and then he'll release a model at the top tier. And so you get to download those models and print them. And these and some of his work that he's turning out looks fantastic. So if you're thinking about maybe supporting him, you can get some models like this. I'm probably flashing up some screenshots a little bit here and there showing, some different stuff, especially printing positions and things like that. So I'm going to try and insert those screenshots. So I'll put a picture up of a couple of his other things, that he has available out there. But he's got a Patreon. It's not super expensive. If you got this printer, if you're looking for nice stuff to paint that's unique, that's, digitally sculpted, he's doing terrain. He just asked his members what they would like to see on there. So, I know him and I have had, a few exchanges back and forth about, hey, love the stuff, love, the sci-fi terrain, to get some of that stuff on the table. So I think he's going to be putting some of that out on there. All right, this right here, the Millennium Falcon, just wouldn't be a printer if somebody wasn't printing this. You see this all over the Wanhao D7 forums, so I thought I would go ahead and print a little mini Falcon right there in the front. That's a solid piece. That's printed at 100 microns. I kind of hit it a little heavy with the primer on there, but if you have that in your hand, you can see every bit of detail on it. And the bigger Falcon that's in front of me is it's a remix of the Falcon that Andrew Askadal did. And if you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, he's the creator of the Warlayer terrain that's been featured on this channel, and I've got more stuff coming up for him too to put on here. But this is a remix of that model, but they hollowed it out. So there's some drain ports in there. There's 2 in the back, and I think there's one up here by the cannons. There's some holes in there so you can drain the resin out if you don't want to print it solid. So that's Millennium Falcon, and that's a remix by Gunther S. is the screen name he has on Thingiverse. And again, check the show notes for the links, because they'll all be there. This right here is a little 15mm sci-fi space junker war truck by Shred Dididi. And again, that's a Thingiverse link. And this is actually a little mini commission print, because Shred Dididi was good enough to put the model up with just an attribution license on there. So one of the somebody I know down at my game shop, he plays a 15 millimeter sci-fi, and I told him I had a new printer and stuff like that. He said, "Hey, can you print this?" So he went and looked around Thingiverse and found this, and found something that didn't have a no commercial restriction on it. I said, "Yeah, I mean that's nothing hard at all." So I took and hollowed it out, and I put a drain hole on the bottom right there, and this is the piece. And this came out really, really good. It prints really quick. Sell it to them super cheap on there. So this is a nice piece. You can't drop it on a ceramic floor probably without maybe hitting, but this isn't going to fall apart for me doing that. And it's got really nice detail on it. So Shredded Edie did a really good job on that. I'll make sure I get a picture of this model up on his makes, because I don't think there's any there yet. All right, this right here. This is the whole reason I bought this printer, to be able to print miniatures and figurines for tabletop gaming, and then be able to print some terrain and stuff like that, some of the smaller stuff. So what you see in front of you, this is a commercial product. This is by Fat Dragon Games. And if you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, if you've been part of this channel, they do the Dragonlock. They did the Dragonlock Kickstarter, and now I think they've changed over to the Dragon Bite clips on there and stuff like that for their stuff. But they also do a miniatures line. And so what you're looking at up here is it's called Lizard Foulke 1. So this is the first batch of the Lizard men. And so I printed those out. Those are all solid, and they're primed with the Vallejo gray primer. And these look really, really good. The detail is nice if you really look on the back of these and stuff like this. So these are great. And I've been seeing there are more and more of these miniatures coming out. There are some fantastic sculpts that are coming. They're not that expensive. This pack right here, you got 5 sculpts for $4.99. So basically $1 a figure. This guy in the back right here, this is Orcus. Take a look at that. That's printed at 50 micron. It is 4 pieces. So the 2 wings are separate and the tip of the skull is separate. I don't know if he ever had any intentions for somebody with SLA printing this stuff, but I did tweet it out to him, and I know he saw it on there, and he did like the pictures. So this is a model. It's $5.99, and I've actually shrunk it down 25%. So there's another 25% that this could go larger. I just shrunk it down because this was my first time printing a miniature that large, and so I wasn't sure where, or what was going to happen, especially because it was multi-piece, and stuff like that. It came out beautiful, so if I printed it again, I would do it full size. Down at the bottom, I did hollow it out. There's a couple drain holes down there at the bottom. Those drain holes are a little small. I do them bigger now because there's like 3 holes in the bottom of that. But the wings, and I'll be a flash up pictures. I know I took pictures of this. The wings print with their own supports that are there for FDM. So you can't get rid of that. At least I don't know how to get rid of those supports that are on there, so I can just add my own. But between those supports and just like a handful of supports that I put in through B9 Creator, there was no problem at all printing those wings out. And then I printed a skull. That just took a couple minutes, and boom, I was done. Last model on the outside, this is a Voronal remix of Luby's Singing Serpent by 3D ED Club. Yeah, there'll be a link, so you'll see who made it. So this is Luby singing Dragon in the Voronal style. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but you get the idea. It's got that design. You see that stuff on Thingiverse all over the place. And I'm telling you, if there's any place that SLA excels, is just how great it printed this piece out on here. This is really, really good. This is the largest print I've done to date in both height, maybe not width, but definitely in height. It printed out in, I think, less than 6 hours on there. And that's another thing with the Moai. That thing is so fast. That first layer takes a little bit to print, and then all you hear is that peeling mechanism going zzz, zzz. And to try to put it in terms, I print on my Maker Gear at 70 millimeters a second, which is pretty quick for an FDM. you know, getting the type of quality that you've seen on this channel. I think this is printing over 300 if you break it down into, you know, apples to apples on there, because it is so fast, you know, the way it prints. So really impressed, and this was a great piece to do. Curing it was a different story, and I'm going to have a different video because I'll end up talking for an hour on this one if I start showing you how I cure and how I post-process and stuff like that. So that's going to be a different video. That'll be coming up really soon here, probably in the next couple weeks. So I'll show you how I take a model from the Moai, how I post-process it to get it to look like this. You know, and my process may be different than other people's process, but you know, this is what I do, so it may work for you. I think the results on the table look pretty good. I'm happy with them. You know, and that's like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. Are you happy with what's sitting in front of you for whatever use you have with this printer? So that's what we got. I just wanted to show off some of the prints and some of the quality, you know, that you can get. And I forgot something in the middle. All right, so some design. These guns, let me bring them around. Right here in the middle. If you see these in the middle, this is Das Autocannon by 1-Bit Pixel. And 1-Bit Pixel has been on this channel before in my May Not Maker Gear series. He does some really good designs. So he made these autocannons for a Dreadnought. And the Dreadnought is a Warhammer 40K. And so that's this guy right here. Yeah, that's one of my Dreadnoughts. I play Ultramarines, so that's what he looks like. And what happened is they make a set of guns called the Autocannon, and that's what this is. The only way you can get this, or something that looks very similar to this, because this isn't an exact replication, but it's pretty close. Anyone that's plays the game knows what that is on the model. You have to order it from the United Kingdom, and they cost $9 or £9.50, whatever it is. So almost $20 US to get, you know, 2 of these, one for each side. And so I'm like, plus shipping. Yeah, that doesn't include shipping, so you got to ship it from the UK also, and that's like, ugh, right there. I don't want to do that. And so I saw this on Thingiverse a long time ago. So I said, well, let me try printing this. So I did, but it came out and it printed hollow, you know, in here, and I thought, well, maybe that'll work if I put a hole in it with my X-Acto knife, and the other one that didn't. No, it doesn't work at all. It just crumbles apart because it's just so thin right here. And so I'm like, so I asked Mark, I said, hey, I need to print solid on this machine. So he said, change your infill percentage to 70%, and that pretty much makes a solid piece. Boom. So then we got this right here. So this one has been primed, and I sprayed some a Crag blue on it, you know, just to see what it looked like when it was blue. I said, oh man, that looks really good. And then I held it up to the model, and it is a little overscaled on there, you know, for my taste on there. I don't know if the original Dreadnought he was making this for was bigger than this one, and it didn't have any pegs. You'd have to drill it out each time manually and try to set it up. So I'm like, all right. So I took the model, took it into my CAD program, I rescaled it, I made it solid, and I added the holes in the side. So now I can take this model, I can take the sides off, and you'll see how it has pegs on both sides. And so I can take this, and give me just 1 second to push them on. They just press fit on, is all they do. And there it is. I think the scale is really good that I have it at right now. And I also have the holes in there that I can press fit it. And these move. I mean, I can adjust the angle they're at and stuff like that. So, and I'm leaning way forward because I have this camera zoomed in, so it's a little different this time. So that's something I can do right there. And so basically, doing a little design iteration with the Moai, you know, saved me about $30 after shipping to get a couple guns onto this model, because with the game, you need to have the representation of the weapon system on the model. So if you just can't say this is an auto. I mean, you could with your buddies if you're proxying, but if you're playing, and out at a game store or tournaments or something like that, you probably don't want to do that. So, what else we got on this table? Oh, this ring. This ring is a test file that you'll do. This will be your first print with your Moai on there. So this is what you'll tune your laser with, and you'll be able to tune your the height, your Z height when you do your calibration. And then this is a little maker rook. I know the Form Labs. Oh, this is the piece you get. Well, it's much bigger than this. If you request a sample from them, or a resin sample, they send you a rook. And this one I think was made by Make Magazine, because they tested a whole bunch of SLA printers and DLP and whatever the LCD type printers are, and so they use that as a test file. So that's 100 micron. The ring's 100 micron. This little mini Millennium Falcon is 100 micron print. Everything else on the table is 50 micron. So I haven't loaded up a 25 micron profile yet, because when you look at how many layers something is, Luby, this dragon right here, she was just shy of 3,000 layers. So that's the layers, that includes my supports, because I just attached support to the feet down here, and that was it. And then it printed, upside down, from straight up from the build plate. And I'll have put pictures of that in here before we went on. So that's kind of what we got. If you're already a subscriber to the channel, this is just going to go into the normal fold of everything I do. If you're new here, my channel centers around tabletop wargaming and terrain for wargaming and cool stuff that's gaming related. I'm not a engineer and showing engineer stuff and things like that. I show entertainment stuff. So I'm also looking at maybe doing some board game pieces in here, because this definitely has a resolution, and to be able to print that stuff out. I'll pop a picture up of some shoulder pads that I did for my Space Marines, and these are about the size of a thumbnail. I needed a Apothecary Space Marine, and I don't have a shoulder pad with the Apothecary symbol on it. Well, out on Thingiverse, somebody did, and they put it up there, so I just put the file and sent it over to the Moai, and boom, there it came out. So I am super impressed with the machine. I really like the quality, the output I'm getting. It's so easy to print. There's definitely the printing, there's definitely a process to post-processing your prints on there. Resin is sticky. It is messy. This is not for kids to be around. But if you're a gamer, if you're an RPG player, take a look. Minis on demand, and I was shocked at how little. I mean, I have not used a liter of resin yet, and there are some stuff on here that were test prints that I completely orientated wrong right at the beginning and have thrown away and things like that. And I still, if you saw from the video before, I got a vat full of resin. I still have resin in my my container over there off the very first liter. I bought 9 liters of resin with the printer, and I am absolutely thrilled with how resin efficient these prints have been. So, and that's a little bit, you're going to learn how to hollow things out, because obviously if Spider-Man was printed solid, that would take a good chunk of resin, because it's already a little hefty right now, but I have primer and stuff on it. But it's a hollow piece. It's only 2 millimeters thick shell on the inside. And then some stuff you're going to want solid. These wings on Orcus over here are solid. So again, I got to stop rambling. But the proof's on the table, and like everything else on my channel, I'll keep showing different stuff, maybe things that you've missed. I've already been contacted by a guy doing a Kickstarter that's going to be miniature based on there, so I'm excited to get some test prints off for him and to get some of the stuff up on the channel. And if you like these type of miniatures, the miniatures are, there's some on Thingiverse. There's a guy on Shapeways that released a ton of them for free up there. The commercial level quality stuff, you know, support the digital sculptors. They're not that expensive. They're only making a few bucks off that. And if you're paying $2 to $4 to have a miniature that you can replicate over and over and over again on there to put on your table, that's really great, you know. And you're going to get some unique miniatures out of this deal too. I've seen some fantastic sculpts that people have been printing, you know, with their SLA printers. And again, so Peopoly Moai, it is a great printer. There'll be links to the website. There'll be links to the store on there. So it's really great. I'm going to explore deeper into the printer itself and follow-on videos. I may even do my first live broadcast. You know, we'll do something on here. We'll print something. We'll post-process it. And we'll see how it all comes out while we can chit-chat a little bit. Because I've always wanted to do some live stuff. But as soon as this semester's over and, you know, at the beginning of August on there, maybe I'll look at towards the end of August on there. So you can really see how I do my post-processing and things like that. So again, thanks for watching my channel. If this is your first time here and you like what you see in front of you, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're a long-time liker, please if you're a long-time subscriber, please like the video and leave a comment and share it out. All right, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you in the next video.